Hello, and welcome to Beyond Biotech, the weekly podcast from Labiotech. I'm Dylan Kassane, and this is episode 174 for the podcast. This week's episode is just a little bit special. 2 weeks ago, the biopharma industry gathered in Vienna, Austria for Bio-Europe. Tens of thousands of one-on-one meetings were organized between innovators and out-licensors, with top pharma companies and venture capitalists eager to partner and invest. For the large pharma firms, it's a chance to learn about new science and keep tabs on evolving assets. For smaller biotechs, though, it can be 3 days of high-pressure networking where a lot is riding on making the right pitch to the right company at just the right time. Get it right, and you walk away with a clear path forward and the cash to fund it. But get unlucky, and you might find yourself with few options in the new year. This year, we decided to follow one biotech heading into their first Bio-Europe partnering conference. Pharma has developed a scalable technology to match the surfaceome of cancer cells and develop first-in-class cancer drugs. Their platform maps the cell surface to identify proteins and any associated neighboring proteins in what are called protein communities, thus providing target candidates for both mono as well as bispecific antibodies. We met with Pharma 3 times over the last month to follow their Bio-Europe journey. We first connected a couple of weeks before the event to learn about the science behind Disco and understand what their goals were heading into Bio-Europe. Then, at the event itself, we sat down to talk about how the partnering meetings had been going and how the event had shaped up for Disco overall. Finally, we talked again with the company a week after Bio-Europe had closed, diving into the follow-up activities and learning about the next steps for this German biotech. I hope you enjoy my conversations with Isla Hurl, Chief Business Officer at Disco, and this behind-the-scenes look at Bio-Europe from an innovator's perspective. Isla, welcome to Beyond Biotech.
Hello, great to be here. Thanks a lot.
Just to kick things off, maybe you could give us a quick snapshot of your journey in biotech. What drew you to the field and maybe some of the highlights from your career so far?
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Really privileged to have the opportunity to speak to you today. So, to just a short bit on my behalf, I've really honestly always had a very deep affinity for science, for medicine. And I think for everybody who knows me, they know that I have an equally strong sense of purpose around helping people in need. And I think that's initially what drew me to biotech, was really the realization throughout the course of my PhD, after speaking to people, that this field allows us to directly contribute to improving people's lives, the patients' lives, their family lives alike. So actually the good that we create really amplifies. And really through my career, no matter if I was conducting research at the Max Planck in the lab, or if I was building partnerships at Amatics, or having the privilege to support brilliant science and entrepreneurs, and as an investor when I was at the Strungmann family office, every role, had I had the feeling I was part of something truly meaningful, and it gave me a strong sense of purpose. And I think that's sort of the heart and soul of what's also, motivates me every day.
Now, right now you're at Pharma. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what Disco does, what makes you different, and where you're focused. What are you doing that others aren't?
Sure. Extremely happy to, because I'm very excited about Disco. So at Disco, we've developed a really truly differentiated approach to mapping the cell surface. So most technologies out there tell you what proteins are presented on the surface, and we go a step further and we reveal how they're organized around one another at a so-called nanoscale level. And by having this snapshot, this gives us a very uniquely detailed map called the surfaceome. And this actually translates to a proprietary data set that we have. And it's a very powerful starting point for a novel target discovery, because we integrate this with our industry-grade validation to then identify with a very high confidence novel targets and target combinations which then have the purpose of serving a broader therapeutic window and obviously ultimately improving safety profiles. So I think in short, we're not just finding new targets like others are doing, we're actually redefining how they're discovered, validated, and really opening up the window even further to the target space.
Oncology is one of the applications of your technology. How is it going to help in transforming cancer care? What sort of impacts is it going to have on patients down the line?
Well, we're focused as of now on cancer indication, on cancer, on oncology, as you said, and our initial programs are really indications with significant unmet medical need, and where the therapeutic modalities that we're currently building is bispecifics, right, and in specific antibody drug conjugates. And by pairing this with our technology, namely understanding which targets are located close to one another on the cell surface, and pairing this with their target biology, such as, for example, expression patterns, we can design therapies, we've shown this already now, with enhanced safety, selectivity, and ultimately what we intend to show safety profiles. And our goal is to develop bispecific ADCs, because these are the technologies we have at hand, and then also to support the development of other modalities, such as, for example, T-cell engagers, in situ CAR T, radioligand therapies, and so on and so forth. So ultimately, this approach, as mentioned, not only enables the identification of novel targets and co-target pairs, but also opens up the field for any kind of modality by which these can be targeted, and actually holds a lot of promise beyond oncology as well.
So the platform you've got, what stage is it at now? And how quickly are you advancing? Where's it going to be in 12 months?
Yeah, that's actually very exciting because even though the company is extremely young, we've been able to translate the academic research to an industry-grade platform. We've validated this platform from a technological point of view, already mapped surfaceomes of multiple tumor types, such as small cell lung cancer, colorectal cancer, squamous lung. And at this time, we're advancing our lead programs in SCLC. And we're also building a differentiated pipeline around the other cancer indications. And we have set our goal that in the course of the next year, we're going to have in vivo data for these programs, for all of these programs. And extremely interesting, we're going to expand our proprietary pipeline by measuring further nanoscale organizations of pan-cancer targets. So to generate pan-cancer target combinations applicable beyond individual indications. And this will not only help us develop a differentiated proprietary pipeline, but we'll also be able to initiate several discovery stage programs as part of partnerships we're seeking to enter.
Now, this special episode of our podcast is all about BioEurope. It's a big event on the industry calendar every year. How did you and your team first find out about the event, and when did you make the decision, and why, I guess, to attend?
Yeah, sure. So, BioEurope, I've been in the industry now for over a decade, and BioEurope is really close to my heart. It's, truly one of the cornerstone events of our industry. It's an excellent opportunity to build, to strengthen relationships across the ecosystem, whether it's with investors, pharma partners, biotech peers, service providers. So the whole community comes together, just like they do at Bio International or BioEurope Spring. And it's really just serves as a very welcome checkpoint at a very crucial time of the year where it's sort of sandwiched between many key scientific conferences like ESMO, for example, and very important, banking, finance-driven conference such as Jefferies. And it gives a good opportunity for business professionals to catch up on developments, reconnect with familiar faces, and so on and so forth. And I think that what is essential is that, we all know that partnerships are driven definitely by data, but they're sustained by trust and also by cultural compatibility. So from the very first meeting, right, all the way through the execution, to have the possibility to have a platform where you can regularly check in and enable these relationships to form and evolve is absolutely essential. And that's why we're going.
Is that one of the things that makes BioEurope stand out and be a little bit different to other events? It's just bigger, everybody is there?
Definitely. I mean, from a biotech, perspective, every event in the calendar year serves a different purpose, right? ASCO is very clinical. You have your scientific champions there. JP Moore has the investor focus, and BioEurope sits really beautifully in this niche where science, strategy, and collaboration intersect, and that makes it so valuable for us. And I think I can speak for the community, for the whole community.
If we're thinking about BioEurope in Vienna in just a couple of weeks, when you're going there with Disco, what are your top goals at BioEurope? What do you want to achieve?
So for Disco this year, the goals are quite clear. Number one, it's to strengthen existing relationships with our partners and our supporters and investors, where we've spent a lot of time investing in these relationships to date. Second, to build new relationships, whether with potential collaborators, investors, or like-minded inventors. So also exploring partnerships at eye level. And definitely third, and this is going to be a common theme, obviously, for every conference, to raise awareness for Disco Pharma, because we are a young company, right? And many are not aware of the immense progress that we've made in the past year. And it's, to amplify and share the passion and conviction we have for our science and mission.
Everybody goes into events like this. They want to make it a success and they want to measure that success. For Disco, what sort of metric are you actually tracking? How do you recognize a success at the end of the event?
Well, success for us and for me really isn't for, how many meetings you have. I know that some really try. I mean, I've worked in sales as a part of my life, so I know sometimes, quantity matters. Here, it's actually quality matters. It's about the quality and the relevance of the interactions that we have. Our outreach is extremely focused, strategic, and aligned with our priorities in financing, partnering, enabling collaborations. And, of course, tangible outcomes such as partnerships or financing rounds might only materialize months or even years down the line. But, to circle back what I said before, it's the meaningful conversations and the relationship building, which you're doing now, that may make all of these things possible in the future. So the success for us is really understanding the landscape and being there at the pulse of the market. Specifically, I think we all achieved a lot during COVID digitally, but we know how exponentially, how much more we can achieve if we build these relationships in person.
Now, I'll ask you, Isla, if you could wave your magic wand and secure one big dream meeting at the event, who would it be with and why? And have you actually reached out yet?
So I think if there's one dream meeting, and I mean, no matter if I'm now a business professional, I'm still a scientist at heart, it would be a partner who truly shares our belief that of the potential of the surfaceome and the surface biology and how it can transform oncology and also science beyond oncology. So it's someone who's not just looking for the next target, but actually who understands the value of our discovery platform and this paradigm shift that we're actually bringing to the table. And we have already started reaching out to our dream partners, and we already have conversations with them. So hopefully we don't need a magic wand. We just need the spirit that we bring to the table.
Let's talk a little bit about that preparation. As we're talking right now, it's mid-October. We're a couple of weeks out from BioEurope. Walk me through the preparation that you're undertaking at Disco ahead of this event.
Sure. So for us, preparation really starts actually for any project, and the same applies for BioEU, with focus and alignment. We keep detailed overviews of our ongoing discussions, points of contact, partnering statuses, obviously, and BioEurope is a key moment where we can strengthen these relationships and build new ones. And we also look carefully at the white space, so areas where new relationships, for example, could be valuable. And then we plan the outreach accordingly. So the meeting strategy is fully aligned with our communications plan, development timelines, and other key conferences we attend. So we are very intentional and coordinated.
Scheduling meetings is just a huge part of the event there. How are you approaching that to maximize the connections with the right people and the right companies?
The same way, as we actually, do that, what I mentioned before. So we approach it highly strategically. We focus on business champions, people who can help drive partnerships forward, top down, bottom up, doesn't matter which approach, right? It's the same as what would apply, for example, for ASCO and ESMO, where there are places to connect with scientific champions. BioEurope is here to build these and strengthen these relationships with business champions. And we are very careful about tailoring our outreach to ensure that every meeting serves a clear purpose, whether it's deepening in a discussion or opening a new door.
As we move towards these final weeks, have you faced any challenges working with the platform or securing the meetings?
To be really honest, not many challenges because we go into this very well prepared. The platform is obviously extremely helpful, maneuvering and juggling calendars, specifically as the BioEurope is sandwiched in between so many other venues. And it's actually more really juggling the priorities and making sure, we can take all of the meetings and make sure that we hold enough time also for our service providers and other partners because they're also an instrumental part of our development.
And finally, personally, how are you preparing for the event? Have you nailed down your elevator pitch? Have you, practiced your deck? Do you feel like you're ready?
Yeah, so for me, it's not about myself. It's really, about how I can enable the company. So internal alignment with all stakeholders is key to maximizing the outcome of this conference. So I spend a lot of time ensuring that everyone's priorities and messaging is in sync. And that I can represent the company accordingly. So it's a team effort. We make sure that our materials, our deck, our data, our story, that it's up to date. But when you're passionate about what you do, the pitch comes naturally. So I think, you could wake me up in the middle of the night and I'd be ready to share about what excites me about Disco and what value we bring to the field, because I'm just very passionate about my job.
A couple of weeks after our conversation, and with BioEurope in full swing, I sat down with Isla again. This time, we met in a partnering booth, one of more than 1,000 on the conference floor in Vienna, to talk about how the meetings had been going and whether the event was shaping up to be a success for Disco Pharma. On the ground in Vienna, how have things been going so far?
So it's been absolutely vibrant. I've been hustling. I checked yesterday and I clocked over 25K in steps already between the halls. The meetings have been incredibly productive. And honestly, the only thing that I wish is that I had more time to catch up with friends and colleagues. Because every minute has been really well invested in prepping and engaging for Disco, so too little time for that.
Tell me about those meetings. Do you feel like you're making connections? Is 25 minutes, half an hour enough?
Oh, definitely. It's very efficient. And I really have to say that the whole ADC and bispecific field and specific, now when we really look at what we're doing here, has a huge momentum right now, especially following the clinical meetings this year around ASCO and the ESMO data, which is out. It's really exciting that the partners see that Disco is more than a Me Too approach. We have a real edge in delivering these differentiated biology-driven targets and co-target combinations. So really nearly every meeting has led to a next tier follow-up or to a face-to-face, for example, at JP Morgan and at Jefferies, be this partnering or financing meeting. So and all of this then expanded from the BD level to broader leadership teams.
How's the Disco technology, how's it been received? Do they understand what you're doing?
100%, very, very positively, against really saying that the field has a lot of momentum now, and what everybody really distinctively appreciates is the uniqueness and of our approach, the depth of our science, and they can see based on these regular interactions how our pipeline is developing, and that we have actually moved from showing what the platform can do to a differentiated pipeline.
Tell me a little bit more about the meetings. What sort of questions are you getting? Is it around the business model? Is it around the science, the stage of development? What are they asking? Sure.
So all of the above. Pharma tends to lean more towards science and collaboration models, obviously, while potential investors are more focused on our science in combination with corporate development plans and financing strategy. But everything is still, given the stage of our company, deeply rooted in science.
So BioEurope's built around these partnering meetings. They're short, they're sharp. What about outside of the meetings? Have you had a chance to do any networking at the events that they put on, anything out in the city?
Yeah, luckily, yes. So beyond bumping into friends and peers just randomly, I always try to leave a few open slots for meetings over a coffee or even a hug, or just a stroll in the sunshine, because that helps to decompress. I think we're also only humans, even though we run on coffee or other different liquids. I truly, it's my conviction that these informal moments are where relationships are nurtured and built. So both the ones that we already have and those which we sort of ignite. And next to the science, it's these relationships which are core, and it really is what fuels our business.
Tell me a little bit more about those informal moments, because they've got the booths here, the exhibitions, you sit down to eat some lunch next to someone who you don't know, you drop in on someone who's just passing in a hallway. Tell me about some of those connections you've made.
Well, I think I'm maybe not a very good benchmark because I'm an extreme social animal. So the threshold for me to start a conversation is pretty low. So for me, it's really easy to engage with people. I started my career by working with sales. So I always drop by booths and engage with people. So it really doesn't matter if it's top down, bottom up, randomly meeting people. My bar is really low to engage.
What about in terms of follow-up? After the meetings, after the notes, you head back home. When does the follow-up actually begin?
Oh, immediately. Right after the meeting. We immediately texting the team what the next step is, getting the slides out if it's non-conf decks. So I would say immediate and in progress.
And can you tell me a little bit about the notes or the text that you send it back? Nothing confidential, but
Sure.
What are you asking the team to do?
Definitely. So first of all, I'm giving them feedback, positive feedback, and saying that there's a lot of momentum in the field, that their work is being extremely well received, just also to motivate them, because really, and we're getting a lot of many kudos of how far we've come from the initial seed and the fundraising and proving what the tech platform can do and developing this differentiated pipeline and the value that we've already generated in this time. And now I'm giving the feedback that, we'll most likely be able to enable this growth and continued growth. We're planning for success, and it's just generating more data. And so we're going back to the table and seeing that based on the growth that we're seeing, we have so many different business models that we can pursue, also outside of oncology, for example. Now coming back from this meeting, honestly, we can really sail in many different directions. We just have to make sure that we're focused corporately, internally, but we can enable so many other more.
Just over a week after Isla left Vienna, we caught up one last time to talk about how her team was following up on their meetings and understand what the next steps were for this Cologne-based biotech. Okay, so it's been a long week now since BioEurope wrapped up. How do you characterize the energy coming out of the conference for Disco Pharma?
Sure. Well, the energy coming out of the bio was really incredibly positive. We saw strong engagement from both investors and from pharma, and there's really a lot of excitement around Disco's pipeline, our approach to discovering novel targets, and just, our whole team. The enthusiasm, speaking of the team, the enthusiasm was a big boost for all of them. And most of the groups that we met with actually also asked for immediate follow-ups. So we're really busy because we're moving forward with all these conversations.
Yeah, maybe walk me through that triage process afterwards, the first 48 hours, 72 hours. How do you prioritize all of the leads and all of the discussions that come out of an event like BioEurope?
Sure. So right after the conference, let's say BD and scientific leadership debrief and align on the strategic fit and the next steps for each opportunity. Because sometimes it's it impacts more financing, business development, or as we call it, enabling business development, where maybe it's also a strategic fit technologically. So from there, we ensure that each of our team members who will follow up has the materials and the context and also content needed to move ahead. It's a really very structured process, which allows us to be very efficient and thorough.
Can you talk a little bit about some of these follow-up actions, whether there are NDAs out there or data room access, term sheets that you're starting to work on? Nothing confidential, but can you tell us what sort of things you've done?
Sure. I mean, I think for the initial touch points there, we sent out meeting summaries and our non-confidential decks. For those opportunities which are on a faster track, we already execute CDAs, and others we pick up later once they're more mature. The important part is really just to keep the momentum for each individual opportunity, because it's not always easy to build such momentum in those face-to-face meetings. And once we have it, we try to preserve it. And obviously, we're also in the process of lining up the in-person follow-ups at JP Morgan and Jefferies.
Yeah, you talked about these follow-ups, and on the BD side, you've also got the investor side. Is it a real mix coming out of BioEurope that you're talking both to people on the therapy side and people on the finance side?
Yes, this I can confirm. It's very much a mix. So strong pharma and top-tier investor relationships are equally important to us. Both tracks will help us on our path towards the clinic. And as you know, we talked about in the previous episodes, building trust with partners and investors usually starts months before any formal process kicks in. So even reoccurring conversations are essential.
What about at a practical level? Who's actually managing all of this follow-up? Are you managing that, or are you working with others on the team?
I'd really like to, call it a team effort. So our BD group and scientific leaders, we all work hand in hand, because at this stage, the science drives the dialogue, and we make sure that the scientific champions are in the front and center, and we from business development support and steer the process as needed. And obviously our board also plays an important role, because very often they open doors and strengthen these key relationships.
Now, you mentioned that you've got a couple of other conferences coming up on the horizon. There's Jefferies, there's JPM early next year. How does what you do at BioEurope feed into these other conferences?
Well, for us this year, the BioEurope is sort of where the initial spark happens. And now some of these conversations move into a more structured diligence as we head towards JPM. And there, the goal is to show up in January with hopefully several discussions already at a more advanced stage, so that the months after JPM can be truly productive.
Yeah, so look, BioEurope's over. You've got these other events coming up. We're surely going to be seeing you there. But what are we going to be reading about Disco elsewhere in the meantime? Anything on the finance side?
Yeah, so let's say the teaser for our feature film hasn't been released yet, but I'll encourage everybody to stay tuned.
And if they want to learn more about Disco, they want to stay tuned, where can you point them?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, we believe in in-person connections and face-to-face meetings. So we'll always announce when there's an upcoming conference, which we'll attend, and encourage everybody to reach out to us, and we will do the same. And of course, everybody listening and who may stumble upon Disco can always learn more about our approach on identifying novel targets for these next generation multi-specific therapies on our website, Pharma.de. And please also follow us on LinkedIn, because there we also share updates, which give you a nice little window into our corporate culture as well.
It's been great following you along from before BioEurope at the conference, and here again just a week or so later. We wish you all the very best, and thanks for joining us and letting us into a little bit of Disco Pharma on Beyond Biotech.
Ditto. Thank you on all accounts also on our end. It's been a great pleasure.
That's it for this episode. Don't forget to check out all the latest news and analysis at Labiotech.eu. I hope wherever you are in the world, you have a great week ahead. Thanks for listening, and I hope you'll join us again next time for another Beyond Biotech.